All
All
right.
right,
Welcome to the
man.
Domestic Draft Podcast. This is Evan Bierman here with Dan Sloak. Dan, how was your weekend, man? What are you drinking?
Weekend was great. Another great weekend out here in San Diego. I'm drinking an Illinois beer, Phase 3.
All right,
Uh,
let's
it's
go.
it's their Shout out to Gavin, our buddy who tends the bar there now, and kind of sent me some of their stuff out here in California. It's their Pilsner, their German style Pilsner. We've talked about Phase 3 quite a bit on this show, but they're local out there in the Illinois suburbs, up towards the northwest suburbs. They started with three friends working in restaurants up in Schaumburg, Illinois. Then got some experience working at breweries together. Then decided why not? Two of those friends got married, so it was like a couple and then a friend. And why not open up a brewery themselves? They opened it up, and they've been like super successful. If you're in kind of the northwest suburbs, a lot of people know about Phase 3. It comes highly regarded. This Pilsner is a 3.8 on Untapped. It's just the perfect kind of summer blend. Nice, light, crisp, 5.5%. And then just, perfect beer for a summer day like today. What about you? What are you
Nice.
drinking?
So the brewery I have is called Low Res Brewery and Tap Room. It's out of Pilsen. It's on the lower west side of Chicago, if you're familiar. And like many great bands or tech startups, Low Res began with two friends, Kevin Lilly and Dave Dahl. They began brewing in a garage. Fast forward a few years, their recipes and skills eventually outgrew that garage. And after 3 years of training, planning, and scheming, they found a space in Pilsen. Broke ground on that in 2015. Kevin was a coder for various tech companies, big and small, before deciding to hone his brewing skills at Metropolitan, Five Rabbit, and then getting his degree eventually from the Siebel Institute. And from Ohio to Indiana to Chicago, Dave made his way through various tech startups as a subpar programmer and adequate CTO by his own admission, before deciding to focus on brewing full time. The beer I have here is called Damon. It's a Belgian strong golden ale. Think like, Victory Golden Monkey, if you've ever had that, similar to that. It's 8.5%. It's
All
a
right.
3.69 on Untapped. Heavy ABV, but it definitely drinks like 5%. And, speaking from Ohio to Illinois,
Hey.
similar to Dave, we have our guy Ryan Pedon. He's the Illinois State men's basketball head coach. You can find him on Twitter at Ryan Pedon. Thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to talk about Redbird basketball. Thanks so much for taking some time.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Coach.
Hey, great to be with you guys. Nice
Yeah.
being here tonight. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and we talked before the show a little bit about how Dan and I were former D3 players, similar to yourself. So how does someone go from being a D3 player to a head coach of a big D1 program like Illinois State? What was that journey like? How did you get to this point?
Yeah, it was a long journey, 21 years as an assistant coach. Sort of knew that I wanted to get into coaching when I had to declare a major middle of my sophomore year at the College of Worcester, and I put some real thought into it and realized I had no other interests other than basketball, and I went with communications because I felt that was applicable to this profession, which it is, and a lot of others. So I worked camps, tried to build relationships towards the second half, towards the back end of my college career. Built relationships through camps, through friends that I may have known in the business, which was very few at the time. And then was fortunate enough to get a graduate assistantship, which was essentially a volunteer basketball position to be on the staff at Miami of Ohio.
Okay.
So I was there for 2 years, got my graduate degree, went to Kent State from there for 3 years, got hired back to Miami of Ohio for 5 years. I was there 5 years. That was my first real, opportunity to coach on the road and actually coach in practice. So I was there for 5, went from there to University of Toledo for 3 years, University of Illinois for 2, Butler University for 2, Ohio State for 5, and then finally made my way to the head seat in Bloomington Normal here. So really excited to be here. Pumped about the program we're building and the guys that we have in our locker room, and nice. So it's definitely been a journey.
Yeah, congrats on that. I'm curious about Worcester. I've never heard of it before, but then I looked it up. You went there, and there's a few other coaches that have graduated from there. And currently, Lamont Paris, current new head coach of South Carolina, is from there.
Yep.
I believe Larry Shiat is how you pronounce his name, was in the
Yep.
NBA, University of Wyoming. What is it about Worcester that is providing kind of like these leaders in basketball, these players that become coaches on a higher level than what they've played at?
Yeah, I think I think more than anything, it's the pedigree. It's the program that we come from. It's what drew me to Worcester. I think there were two overriding forces that really drew me there. Number one was it was a winning program. I was considering a few different schools, and I was drawn to them because I felt like that was my best chance to go somewhere and guarantee that I would be a part of a successful program, at least walking in the door. And it was. The second thing was the brotherhood, the chemistry, the people, the camaraderie that we all had at Worcester. And I was drawn there because of the people more than anything else. That was a differentiator for me. And I think it's no coincidence that, you find some highly successful people in all walks of life that have come out of our program. But, if you break it down, I think successful teams and programs and organizations breed successful people in life. So fortunate to have learned from my college coach, Steve Moore, who's a legend, second all-time winningest Division III coach in the history of Division III college basketball. So really lucky, and then lucky to play alongside some great teammates. Had all kinds of great relationships that I took with me from college, and guys that I'm still very close to this day. So I'm fortunate, and my wife also graduated from Worcester. So
there it is.
Yeah. Should have mentioned that first.
I think you're going to like Illinois State too, because I saw Worcester, it was like an agricultural community and an agricultural college as part of it. Yeah. So there you go in Bloomington Normal. You're going to fit right in if you like those that community, those type of people.
It is. There are actually a lot of similarities. Worcester's a lot smaller than this area, but in terms of, it's fairly rural, but there's great people in that town, and there's a proud tradition, and they sure care a lot about, basketball in that part of the state. So a lot of similarities.
Yeah. It sounds like a special place to you. I know ISU for Dan and I, it's definitely, in both of our hearts for sure. We both met our wives there. We, graduated there. Yep. And so we're excited, when a new head coach comes in, and everything that I've, read, I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk to you, but everything I've read is that recruiting seems to be your sweet spot. Right. And so I'm curious what it's like to be a college recruiter, and how competitive is that? And, just what does that process look like?
Yeah, it's very competitive. I've learned a lot of lessons over the years through some of our recruiting battles. And I think that it's taught me a lot about what makes, people in our business, especially assistant coaches, successful. And you got to be highly organized, very detail oriented. You got to be relationship driven, relationship based. And I've evolved over the years too. I think that's something that I've taken a lot of pride in, evolving and growing and learning along the way. If you're staying in neutral in our profession, or you're not improving, you're going to get run over real soon, real quick. And so I like to think that I've grown in a lot of ways, but that's come through sometimes hard lessons and losing recruiting battles too. And I think you take from the good and the bad, but I've learned a lot in terms of what it takes to be successful, and then also what I value just as a head coach, and how I go about my business.
So I teach high school kids. You recruit high school kids. I know they're on TikTok, Snapchat. Is that the evolving and changing? Are you finding yourself doing some things you're like, I never thought in a million years I'd be on this platform, but that's kind of how you reach your audience, right?
It is. I think there's a sweet spot there. I'm very true to who I am. I like to, think that I'm fairly authentic in my approach. And if I wasn't, I think guys would see right through that. So I've been on TikTok, I've been on social media, I utilize it. But I'm a 44-year-old middle-aged man too. So
podcast,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I try to be, true to who I am as well. But at the same time, you got to embrace it. Yeah. There's so many things about our business in the last few years that have changed. And I think it sort of calls you to change and evolve, or get left behind. And
Right.
there's a balance there, because I don't think that I ever want to change the way that we recruit. I don't want to change the way that we approach the process. But I think if you're being true to yourself and your convictions and what you believe in, and who you pursue, that good things will come of that. So we try to do it the right way and build relationships. So there's a big part of it for us that is very old fashioned and genuine relationship building.
What's been kind of the biggest change so far, I guess, going from being an assistant to now being the head coach?
I think the decision making that when you're an assistant coach, you're making suggestions
Right.
on a daily basis. I don't think you always think of the gravity of what a particular decision could do to affect a young man's life, or the direction that your program is going to take. But you're suggesting it to your boss and allowing him to make that final call. And when you're the head coach, you're making those decisions, and you're making all of the other decisions in between too. How you want to run practice, what you want it to look like, establishing your values, building your culture. I could go on, but those things are now in your hands. And I have a great staff, so I trust and empower them, obviously, to do their job. And I lean on them quite a bit. So, that's a big part of what I believe in, is surrounding yourself with great people. And I've done that. I feel really, really confident, that we're on to some really good things.
Yeah, and I know you talk Illinois basketball. Doug Collins' name is going to get brought up every time you talk about it. I saw you brought him in already, had him talk to the players. What's it like to have somebody who's been, playing in the NBA, coaching the NBA Hall of Fame basketball persona, like just at kind of your fingertips to get advice from, or have him talk to your players?
Yeah, it's surreal, to be honest. It takes some getting used to, because, Doug gave me a call when I first got the job, and I was like, Doug Collins is calling me right now.
Yeah.
And I realized quickly how special he is as a person and as a coach, and also how passionately he feels about our program. And I would be foolish if we didn't utilize him and embrace that. He told me when I took the job, he said, I'll stay out of the way, but you can call me anytime. I watch every game. And I was like, man, I'm going to be blowing you up, Doug, get your perspective and your take or your opinion. And I really value him as a friend. Also, I think way more than I probably thought I would, just because he's so genuine in his approach and how he is. And he's been tremendous to our family and our program. So we're indebted to him for a lot of different reasons.
So I'm curious about, recruiting you to the school, and I'm sure you had other offers or other universities looking at you. What was it about Bloomington Normal when you kind of came there? And, did you just fall in love with the community right away? Was it the quad? I know the quad is, for me, when walking up on that, I was like, this is just amazing. Yeah. Was there anything that like stood out right off the bat when you came to school?
No, this is a funny story here, but the community and the campus, the decision to come here was made well before I ever set foot on the campus.
Oh, wow.
So it was, it happened so quickly. And I had done plenty of research in a very short time, but I sort of took what I knew from afar, my thoughts on the program, my thoughts on the conference, the tradition, history, and then did my research. And I talked to plenty of people, some who had worked here, some that are in the conference, and other people in the region that I really trust. And I made a decision that I know was the right the right move. I was waiting on, what is perfect. I don't think there's anything perfect in this world, but for me, some situations would be much better than others for a variety of reasons. And this one was one when the job became available, I was like, whoa, that would be one I would definitely be interested in, from a first glance. And as I did more research and as I talked to athletic director, Kyle Brennan and Mark Mulhauser, our deputy AD, it really kind of sped me up. And we had some great conversations, and it all went very quick. So I've joked with people that I said, when I got here, the day of the press conference, I was looking around and I said, damn, I hope I like this place. So it was unique, but the whole process itself was unique, the timing of it. So you got to embrace it. And luckily, in this day and age, you can do plenty of research online. Campus tours, visual campus tours, seeing the facilities, seeing the community, and help my wife a lot too. So, I think for us as coaches, you make it about 80 or 90% based on the job. And then you're like, well, I can pretty much live anywhere. But when you have a family, it may be that percentage is probably a lot different, so the area, the school system, the people, the region, all that kind of stuff. My family loves it. So this is a special place.
Yeah, the cheese curds over at Pub 2. I mean, that really
just
sealed.
Have you been to Pub 2 yet? You had to have been.
I have walked through there on a recruiting visit because we were showing them. Jake from State Farm has
the pants are on the wall there.
Up there.
Like it's part of our campus tour, So
they got some Osiris Eldridge, one of like the most notable players of recent. I mean, let's talk about the team in general. 97, 98 was the last year ISU went to the tourney. I know when we were there, we had some good teams. That was like Troy Brown, Jackie Carmichael were there. Played Louisville really tight that year. But as somebody like is a basketball junkie, watches his team, streams it on like the ESPN 14 or whatever we're going to be playing on. What is this? Because it's lacked identity these last couple of years. What is this team going to look like? What's the product going to look like on the floor?
Well, I can't speak on the last few years because I don't know. But what I can tell you is, as a head coach, I've had a vision of exactly how I want things to look. And I think it's maybe a blessing and a curse of being an assistant for 21 years, because you get to be a certain point and you're almost a little stubborn in terms of how you view the game. And I'm like very, very convicted in terms of how we want to go about it, the type of players that involves, and, a lot of other factors in terms of, the culture, the character of the players we're bringing in, their characteristics, and so on. But I want there to be a very identifiable DNA. And I think you'll hopefully see that, because if you come to a game for the first time, I want our fans to be able to walk out of the gym and say, man, I see what they're trying to be. And I really was inspired by it. So, effort, teamwork, selflessness, toughness, competitiveness, those are all things that I think are time tested and correlate to success and winning at a high level. You got to have talent. There's no doubt about it, fellas, but we all know that. But without those other things, I think there's a real ceiling on what you can become as a program. And, I've been doing it long enough to know that and see that, for my beliefs, those things have to come first. And how I want to approach it, how I want to build a program. And I want to build a program that's built for sustained success, not just a 1 or 2 year flash in the pan where we're trying to, strike it rich and, and then reboot. I want to, as best we can in this era, be able to build a program that is, built for sustained success. And, those are some of the characteristics that I would tell you, I think, we're looking to build the program with.
And to be able to retain players too. I feel like in recent years, we're losing players to U of I and to other schools in the area. So, I mean, the way that it sounds like you're looking to build this team for the long term, it's refreshing to hear that. Are we going to see Ohio State on the schedule at any point? Clash of
what?
the old stomping grounds.
Little
Down
exhibition.
the road, maybe not this year. It was a little bit late. We were a little late to the party on that one, but yeah, but perhaps down the road. I think it's something that I'd love to do, and I've got to talk my old boss into doing it. He's not a big fan of playing, guys that have worked for him for whatever reason. But I'm gonna have to try to twist
But change is good, right? You gotta
Right.
be willing to change in this game, like
You got to evolve. You got to grow and
Exactly.
evolve.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're hopeful, but yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great.
Yeah, we saw that you guys are going to be out in the Cayman Islands, right? At the beginning of the season, playing LSU, a notable program out there. Is that something? Are we looking to kind of put ISU basketball back on the map by maybe scheduling some more prominent programs on there?
Yeah, that particular game is part of a tournament. So I don't know at what point we signed on for that tournament, but in most cases, you don't know all the teams that will be in a particular tournament unless you're the last team to join in. But down the road, I would like to play high majors, especially in a setting like that where it's a multi-team event. You're on a neutral floor. I think those would be great experiences for us, great opportunities for us. And I want to play a challenging schedule. I think, this year we were a little bit hamstrung to some level with timing, but also, I want to do what's best for our team and our program in this particular moment. And, I'm not going to reach for the stars 3 months into the job and schedule, a schedule that would be biting off more than we can chew. Because we got a lot of growing to do and we've got a long way to go. I'm not, saying anything there that I'm not hiding anything. I think it's pretty obvious. But I think my philosophy, big picture and moving forward will be, really challenging our guys. I want to expose us in the non-conference portion of the schedule because if you're able to learn some hard lessons, I don't want to lose 7 or 8 games in November and December, but I do want to put us, I want to put us in position to really, learn and grow and hopefully from all wins. But reality is, sometimes early season losses, losing and having it hurt a little bit as opposed to scheduling easier, I think can help you grow. Big picture. And ultimately our goal is we got to be playing our best basketball in the months of February and March.
There it is.
I don't want to, fly below the radar and then all of a sudden think we're just going to just magically do that. Like there's peaks and valleys to a long 6-month basketball season at the college level. And we want to challenge our team moving forward.
I want to go back to 2020. You joined an organization called Coaches for Change. What can you tell us about that organization?
Yeah, so this was an organization that was formed really in the height of the pandemic. And, there was a lot of, cultural divide that was going on at that particular time. And, I think I like to think that as a society, we've grown and evolved a little bit in the last few years. Hasn't been the easiest of times. We all know that. But it was an opportunity for me. A good friend of mine, who's the head coach at Siena University, asked me if I'd want to be a part of it. And I said, yeah, without hesitation. And, I think it was a great opportunity for all of us. It grew. I mean, it really grew in a short time, but it was a great opportunity for a lot of us to gain perspective and learn. I learned a lot. And, I think I felt like at times like it's like, man, was I blind, prior to this. And it forced me as a coach, as a man, as a human being to look inside myself a lot in my views and kind of question myself. And I think that's very healthy if you can do that in a constructive way. And I'd like to think that organization helped me as much as I hopefully helped it. And because it impacted me for sure. And, I think it's something that I was able to help relay to our players and help, help form bridges instead of barriers. And, that was a real time of growth for me personally.
All right. One more question. We'll get you out of here. I know as two people that went to Illinois State, we know our kind of athletic rivalry is Bradley since we're so close. But I think most of us socially compete with our friends who go to U of I. Can there and will there be a ISU U of I kind of rivalry or a schedule? Like, we want to see it. Everyone always chirps at each other when one team's up and the other one's down. It's like, why don't they just play each other? They're so close.
Right. Yeah. That would be tremendous. I don't know all of the backstory and all the history on that, but I think Illinois, we would have to engage in some discussions with them. On our end, I would absolutely be open to it for sure.
Yeah.
And, a lot of respect for that program. And, this may sound funny, but being in this seat here, if we're not playing them, I'll root for them. And I say that because I think having great basketball not only in our state, but in our Central Illinois region, it's good for everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's how I look at it. Loyola being from our state, I know Illinois fans probably hate it, but it's great for our state. And look what it's done for them. It's elevated their program. They've moved on to the Atlantic 10 Conference. Those are good things. And if we can help to revive some old rivalries, grow the game in our state and come together and compete, man, I'm all for it. I love that. And I'm always going to be supportive of playing teams in our region, and our schedule will reflect that. So, Illinois, they've had great success, especially here in recent years. And I working there, have a lot of respect for the school and institution as a whole.
All right. Well, we'll hope to see it. I know we'll be rooting for you this year. We're looking forward to positive things out of the ISU men's basketball program. Again, our guest today was Ryan Pedon. He is the Illinois State's men's basketball head coach. You can find him on Twitter at Ryan Pedon. Thanks so much for being here, Coach. Really appreciate you spending time with us.
It was good being with you guys.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Thanks again to our guest, Ryan Pedon. He's the Illinois State men's basketball head coach. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Pedon.
Roll Birds.
All right, Dan. Yeah, roll Birds for sure. Do you got a would you rather for us this week?
I do, Evan. Would you rather have a 7th round draft pick in the NFL or N'Keal Harris, a former 1st round draft pick?
Okay, so you're referencing the Bears. The Bears made a trade today.
Yes, exactly.
You're not aware. They traded the 7th round pick to New England Patriots for former 1st round pick N'Keal Harry.
Wide receiver. N'Keal Harry. Yep. Yeah.
N'Keal Harry was the first wide receiver that Belichick's ever drafted in the 1st round. So they had a lot of conviction on this guy.
2019 draft.
Yeah, he's been in the league
19, right around there.
He's been in the league 3 years. Has failed to put up over, I think the highest he had was like 380 yards or something like that. So he has not.
He requested a trade like 2 years into it, and they didn't grant it, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So now he's
had some injuries.
Out. He's been disgruntled there for a while.
Yeah. Obviously a 7th round pick, it's not much to give up. I just think.
You sure about that?
I just think they would have cut him, and you could have got him probably on a cheaper deal, but you would have had to maybe fight some other teams, in free agency for him. Yeah. For a team like the Bears, who have no wide receiver help really outside of Darnell Mooney, he makes a lot of sense, just a high upside guy, kind of like Pringle. He's the same to me. He's the same as Equanimeous St. Brown. He's the same as Byron Pringle. He's these guys that were on teams that didn't really have a lot of wide receiver talent, that they were competing with for, playing time, and still didn't shine. So I'm leery that he's going to be any good at all. But the high draft capital that New England invested in him, to draft him off the bat.
Says
he's
something.
6'4", he runs like a 4.5 40, I think. So he's not slow by any means. He's a big guy. It's worth, bringing him in for sure. I
You know what
just
he
think they
does?
could have got him for free, basically.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. You know what he does though? Is he makes that wide receiver room a little younger,
Because he's younger than,
he's younger than our rookie receiver this year, Velez Jones Jr. People forget.
yeah. Right.
Velez
Fellas.
is 25 and Harry's 24. So there you go. It's like we got another first round rookie. Here we go.
Yeah.
Fresh
Good
start.
that they brought him in. I mean,
That's a little
might as well
fact.
try him out.
Little factoid for you, Evan. You got a fast fact for me?
I do have a fast fact, and it's going to be about ISU. Founded as a training school for teachers in 1857, Illinois
That's
State
right.
University is the oldest public university in Illinois.
There it is.
And there is also actually an ISU night that's going to be going on at Guaranteed Rate Field. Friday, July 29th, there's a patio party that starts at 4:30 before the game. So go to their website and check that out. You can get some tickets. But that's our show today. Thanks again to our guest, Coach Ryan Pedon, for joining us today. For Dan Slowick, I'm Evan Bierman. You've been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate the show. You can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft, on Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website is domesticdraft.com. And you can watch the show on YouTube. Just search up Domestic Draft and drop us a sub. Thanks again for listening.
Cheers.
Cheers.